Hey, hey, crafty chicks. Grace here at the Comfy Nest, and today I'm going to be using this sweet, adorable pig napkin. It's from this bundle of napkins you can get off my website, thecomfynestwithgrace.com. I love to give you guys the opportunity to have these unique bundles of napkins available for decoupage, for creating and crafting, and for your art life. So we're going to be using one of them on this. It's a Dollar Tree canvas panel. Nothing fancy here. The Dollar Tree that I have locally sometimes carries these canvas panels, and so that's what we're going to use. And as a background, before we use the sweet piggies, we are going to just put on, this is tissue paper that I got at Hobby Lobby, and it looks like newspaper print. Now, tissue paper is definitely similar to using napkins for decoupage. You'll see here as I put this background together, but it's easier. It's easier to use because it's thicker and it doesn't tear quite as easily. So if you have been contemplating decoupage with napkins or anything, and you're a little nervous about it, try it with tissue paper, perhaps before you try the napkins, to get the hang of it. But my biggest advice is just don't let it hold you back. You won't get to know if you love it until you try it. And I truly love decoupaging with tissue paper, with napkins, with decorative papers, with anything that you have on hand. I'm a big fan of using what you have on hand. So here you'll see me, I'm just using Mod Podge Mod Podge can be used as both the glue to hold this paper down on your surface, and it can be used as a sealer. So you're going to see me put this together with the glue. I don't mind. I actually embrace wrinkles. You'll see here, there's a bump, a bubble there in the background, and I love it, you guys. I just push it down a little bit with that wet brush that has the Mod Podge on it. And like I said, tissue paper is easier to do that with than napkins because it will not tear quite so easily. But I really embrace the wrinkles. I love the texture. Heck, I'm using modeling paste or molding paste and a variety of texture mediums consistently in my projects because I love it. So I don't get too worked up about the wrinkles. In fact, I just really love them and encourage them. So here, take a minute and watch this as I put it together for you. In the meantime, I'll say quickly again, if you're interested in looking at the unique bundles of napkins that I have available, that Sweet Critters bundle is available on my website, thecomfynestwithgrace.com. You can also get a variety of other things on my site, and you can sign up or learn about the two membership options that I have. I have one craft club called the Craft Therapy Club. We get together live every month to do a project that I plan and organize and create, a unique project just for this group. And that is a $27 a month option. You can cancel anytime. And with that option, there's no supplies sent to you. You get a supply list and you gather the supplies from what you have on hand, or you go out and get what you need. I really try hard to keep it really basic with that group in terms of the supplies. The other option is to join my Craft Crate, which is a project-based box, meaning you're getting a box of supplies sent to your door every month for a particular project. It includes the surface and the embellishments and any other decorative needs that you would need. I don't send a glue gun. I don't send some of the basics like paints. I'm not sending paint in the mail, but most of the folks who are in that group are either eager to get started and willing to invest in a glue gun and in their paints, or they already have them on hand. So you can learn about those on my website, thecomfynestwithgrace.com. I'm getting ready to finish up this foundation or this background for this piece. And you can see that when I lay the papers down, I don't always necessarily worry or tear them so that they try to match up evenly with the edges of the panel, the canvas panel. I'm letting them go right over the edge, the pieces, and I will remove them in a few minutes. You'll see how I'll do that. I'd love to hear from you. If you're here listening in and watching, I would love to hear from you. Please make sure you comment, say hello, let me know you're here, where you're coming in from. That is so fun for me to know. I live in North Dakota, And I love to hear from you and know where you're coming in from, where you're watching from. If you're new to the channel, welcome. For all the returning members or folks who have come over from Facebook to connect with me here, thank you for being here. To all of you, I so appreciate it. I'm not new to YouTube, but I have been definitely focusing on YouTube more lately since my Facebook accounts got hacked a little over a month ago. I've been definitely putting more energy over here on YouTube to try to stay connected with all of you. So thanks for being here. Okay, little dry time with that hair dryer. I just use a hair dryer. I have a little spot right there you can see, just needs to be reinforced with a little bit of glue. I'm going through and just making sure that all of the trend, like where they're overlapping each other, that I have enough glue down to hold them in place. I love that it's not, you could lay this sheet down all as one big flat sheet. The tissue paper is certainly big enough where you could take a full flat sheet of the tissue paper and lay it down all as one, but I like the collaged look of it. So now I'm grabbing, this is one of the napkins in that Sweet Critters bundle, and we're going to use 2 panels. Almost every napkin that you'll get in the bundles that I sell have 4 decorative elements to them, or 4 panels. As you can see here, that there's 4 piggy faces that you can use, and she has this glorious flower on her head, which is so sweet. We're going to use 2 of these today, and they fit really well on this canvas. And I thought, how cute to have them nose to nose. I'm going to lay them on here, you'll see, so that they're almost looking at each other. And I think I'm going to use like a tag or a plaque saying friends on here. That's my plan. So you need, when you're working with these napkins, make sure that you separate. You saw me just do that. Just wet your fingertips and clasp them onto the corner of the napkin and pull it apart. If you need to, you can rewind this and check that out again. And it easily separates the plies. You know, napkins usually come in plies, and you want to just use the top, the very top layer of that napkin. So what you see me doing here is I used a watercolor brush to just add some water to the napkin so I could separate the 2 napkins. Now I could have cut it. I really like using the watercolor brush because I like how it gives a torn edge to all the parts of the napkin rather than a straight edge. So you'll see I'll do that a couple of times with the project. I don't like those straight edges. I don't like them most of the time. If the edges are going to be seen on my project, I use either a wet paintbrush or this watercolor brush, and I just wet the edges enough to take off a part of that, and I use the eraser of a pencil, and I'll pull on that wet part of the napkin away from the main part of the napkin so that it tears the napkin really nicely, really easily. It's effortless, really. And I tear it so that it gives it a really beautiful torn edge look. Now, I know you can buy scissors that do this. I know that you can use a torn edge like ruler, but I don't think that those would work with a napkin because they're so thin and fragile. So this is the best way I've found to do this, just to wet it with a paintbrush and then to tear it. So you'll see me do this for both of them. If you have used this method before, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know if you're a fan of doing this method of tearing your napkins, or if you like the straight edge. There's no right or wrong. You can use your napkins or your pieces, your materials, your embellishments as the way that you love. I always say you do you. You do it the way you like to do it. But I'd love to know if this is something that you've tried before. Okay, now after a little bit of cleanup, I've got my torn edges, and now I'm going to see about placing these here. And I wasn't quite sure if I'm going to place them toward the top, toward the bottom, where I'm going to put this little plaque or tag that says friends. So I just spent a little time trying to figure that part out. Realized I need to get these edges off of my canvas, so I'm just using a sanding block from the Dollar Tree, and I'm sanding off the excess paper. It's really easy to do. Just at a 45-degree angle, use the sanding block in a downward motion most of the time, or you can go in a side motion, as you see me doing there, to get that paper off. It's really easy to do, and it looks really organic and clean the way that that comes off. And now we'll see about decoupaging. So I'm going to use that Mod Podge, that glue again, to affix these napkins, these graphics, these sweet little piggies onto the canvas panel. Okay, before I like to visualize, it helps me to visualize by placing things on the canvas panel before, or my project before I actually glue anything or Mod Podge it down. And so I was thinking through how I'm going to put this Friends. I didn't know if I was going to use a bow or a tag or how, but I thought I'd take some of my scrap paper. So I grabbed some scrap paper strips. This is decorative scrapbook paper that used to be 12 by 12 and now it's cut into strips. These are leftovers, and I'm pulling out colors that would match. And you can see me, I lay them right on the canvas panel, right with the napkins, and I'm looking for colors that complement the project. So whenever you're worried or, just can't figure out or stumped on coloring, like what colors of paint to use, what colors of embellishment, what colors of ribbons and tags, use the elements from your project. So for this example, the background, that tissue paper, and the napkin, I'm using the colors. You can see the green laying there close to the floral on the pig's head. It matches perfectly. It's a really beautiful moss green, matches really well. And that peachy orange color matches really well with the pig's ears. So I'm just pulling some scrap pieces of paper, laying it on top of the project to help me find the colors of scrap paper that match. So I hope that that tip helps you when you're ever stumped about what to use. Just pull out your options, lay them out with your project embellishments, your napkins, your tissue paper, whatever you're using, your paints, your ribbons, whatever you're using, and you can easily pull from what you already have chosen to match up the colors that you need. In a few minutes, you're going to get a little bit of Chocator action coming in here. I decided to use a Chocator transfer that I have for the little tag for this project. So you'll see that in a few minutes. Something to watch for here. It's a very minor part of the project, but it actually ends up being one of the highlights. It's one of the first things that you see when you look at the project is the tag that I make that says Friends. So you'll get a little peek at how Chocator works and how you can work it into your projects. Okay, and here comes that transfer. This one, there are a few of these. These are the smallest transfers that we have with Chocator, and I love these ones. There's a few of these that have these simple sentiments on them, and they're so versatile and easy to use. I use them often in my projects. So this one has a couple of different words, family, memories, and friends, and I'm going to use the friends part of it. So here you see me just cutting that apart so I can get to the part that just says friends. I'm going to fuzz it. I'm going to add a little bit of fuzz to the back of it. It's a brand new adhesive reusable transfer. And when they're brand new especially, they can be very, very sticky. And so when applying to paper, really good idea to put a little bit of fuzz on the back to make sure that it doesn't stick so strongly that it tears your paper. So that's what I was doing there. I'm pulling, I believe this color is called Olive. It's a shimmer color, so it's Shimmer Olive. And I'm using it. It really matches well, again, with that green in the floral on the piggy's head. So it shows up really well on this like cream colored, light tan colored paper. So I just used the squeegee to push the paste through the transfer design and then peel it up, and voila, there's my sentiment. It looks great. It looks really great on that paper. So we need to give that a minute to dry. You want to make sure that you let that set. Now, the paste is actually erasable on non-porous surfaces like chalkboards and mirrors and glass. But because I did it on paper, that's just going to stay on that permanently. We'll just leave it on there permanently so it can be used on both types of surfaces. Just going to take a hair dryer to that. Oh, my napkins went flying. Of course, with a little bit of air from the hair dryer, just to set that paste and make sure that it doesn't smudge when I'm working with this new little tag that I made. When I'm testing it, I usually test it by just touching down, not rubbing, but touching down on the paste, and then I can usually tell right away if it's still wet or not. And it seems to be dry, so here we go. Time to make it a little smaller so it will fit the project. If you want to know how to access, how to purchase the Chakatur product line or any of the napkin bundles, you can check the description of this video. I always put the links there for your convenience. Now here, I wasn't even quite sure where I was going to put this tag, so you're going to see me, I did speed up the video just a little bit, but I'm playing a little bit to see would it be better underneath the two piggies, is it going to be better on top somewhere. So I'm working with the papers, laying them down because I'm incredibly visual. It helps me so much to put it on the project and see, to make my decisions. And I hope that by watching this process that it helps you to know that, listen, I have an idea of what I want to do, but I don't always have it firmed up in my head. It's okay to not know exactly what you're going to do with the project and to move ahead with it anyway. I don't ever want to see that hold you back from creating and crafting on a regular basis. There's such a joy that comes from being able to create and craft on a regular basis. So just, even if you're not quite sure, go ahead and move ahead with it and test and play and have some fun with it. Okay, so as I was working and deciding, I figured out that I don't necessarily even want these piggies to be completely square because I'm going to put the tag toward the top of the project. So I wanted to edge out a little space in the center between the two piggies on top for that tag. And so I took off that squared edge, again using the watercolor brush and an eraser from a pencil to just tear away the edges of the top of that, so that we could just decoupage or glue these onto the project. So that's what you saw me do there. Now applying some Mod Podge so I can get these napkins down. Okay, so I have that friends tag down to the size that I wanted, and I thought it would be nice to round off the edges. So I have one of these punches that you put your paper in and it just rounds off the edges. You can do this with scissors, guys. You really can just do it with a pair of scissors. But since I have the punch, I just figured I'd use it to round off the edges on the tag. And I decided that the papers that are going to go behind this, I wanted to tear them rather than have them be completely straight. It looked out of, I don't know, it just looked wacky to me when they were completely straight, the strips of paper. So I'm just taking the littlest bit of paper off. I'm, again, going for that torn edge look, and it matches what's going on with the napkins with that torn edge. So I'm just taking the strips of paper that I picked for behind this tag, and I'm taking the strips and I'm just tearing off the edges ever so slightly so that it has a torn look as opposed to a cut, a straight cut. Okay, and now seeing the papers together, I felt like it needed something fabric, something textured, something different. So ribbon, maybe. I grabbed some off-white colored ribbons that I had. This wide one just wasn't as gorgeous as it is. I really love it. It just wasn't going to work. So I have this lace, this very simple lace, and I thought it would be nice to just add a piece of lace to the back of the tag in with these ragged strips of paper, just to soften it up and add some more texture. Plus, I really felt like the lace made the whole project softer. You have these two little piggies who I imagine maybe they've met for tea. They have flowers on their head. They've met for a Sunday tea, and the lace just seems to go with that. To me, I know it sounds silly, but to me, it's a feeling that I get when I see these two little piggies together. That a little bit of lace would just go really well with them. Love to know what you think about that, and if you think of your projects in the same way, like when you're seeing it come together, that you get a feel for what the project is all about. And so my story with these piggies are that they are long time good friends. They've met for tea. They have their flowers on their head, looking their Sunday best maybe, and they're a little bit of lace between them just seems perfect. So now that I have those together, again, I was feeling like, that this could look a little vintagey with the lace coming along and the newspaper prints. So I grabbed a Distress ink pad, and the Distress ink tool, and I'm using it to just distress the tag that I made that says friends, and I'm actually going over the whole piece of paper just to make it look worn and distressed, and I'll do it for actually the whole project. So this is really fun because it really gives the project a different kind of old vintagey look, and I love the way it turns out. I'd love to know what you think of it. I can say members of the My Craft Crate membership group, you have a fun Distress ink pad coming your way this month. I don't reveal the whole project until the members get the project. And one of them actually said today that it's like Christmas. It's like opening a Christmas present. They don't know exactly what they're getting, but I will reveal that you are getting a Distress ink pad and an applicator this month in your project for the month of March. So that's exciting and fun. I want to point out just a minute ago that you saw me actually distress the lace. Yes, you can use your Distress ink on your fabrics or your ribbons to also make them look more distressed. So I took that off-white pristine lace and I added a little bit of that ink to the lace as well as to the papers. And you're gonna see me here, I'm actually decided then, I actually decided at that point too, once I got all the papers off, to distress the edges of the canvas itself. And then you'll see me pull the ink into the center of the canvas a little bit to grunge it all up to give it that good old vintage distressed look. Are you a fan of distress? Are you a fan of vintage looking projects? I'd love to know. Be sure to comment. Okay, so time to put the distress ink away, and it's really the fun part when you get to put this all together. So it's time to pull out some glue and to put together this ribbon slash tag bundle for the top that becomes the tag for this project. And you can see I said that the friends part of it is using that Chacator transfer to create this tag that says friends was such a minor part of putting it together, but it becomes a focal point for the project. It's like right in the middle between the two gals as they're sitting there and looking at each other. So it becomes a focal point. So it's time to glue it all together. I'm just going to grab some Fabri-Tac glue to glue those pieces together. And then you'll see me use my glue gun to affix the whole thing onto the canvas panel. And while we're waiting for that hot glue gun to warm up, I'm going to show you quickly how easy it is to clean these transfers once you're done with them. You just need water and a clean rag. So I sprayed some water on the top. I'm using a shop towel there to wipe the extra paste. It reactivates that paste and I can wipe it right off of that adhesive stencil. And again, more water, and now I'm coming in with a rag to get a little bit more off, and you just continue to do this until it's clean. You do it to the front, you pick it up, you clean your surface. You can do the same thing to the back, to the adhesive side. Just wet it and wipe it nicely with a clean rag to get all of that residual paste off of it. And it's sticky. It's still sticky. It's sticky again. And once it's dry, once it's completely dry, we can go ahead and put it back on its backing. You can see how it's still sticking to my fingers. Put it back on its backing and then put it away. And I use these fabulous little portfolio books to store a lot of my transfers because I have a pretty good collection going. So I'm going to stick it in my little portfolio book and put that away. And that's how easy it is to clean them and get them stored for next time that you want to use them. Again, the links to all this stuff is in the description of the video if you're interested in learning more. I love the way this project came together. I would love to know what you think of it. I would love to see your projects. If you're putting projects together using the napkin bundles, please head on over to Facebook and join my free craft community called the Comfy Nest Crafty Chicks Club and share your project photos there. Thanks for watching.